Hi, everybody. I'm back this time with David Doonan, and he is a Green Mayor in Greenwich, New York. And he's also the web manager of the Green Party website on gp.org, which he does a great job because he and I are always communicating with each other, and he's posting things up there as we need them.
Yep.
And I appreciate that. So, David, tell us a little bit about when you became a Green and when you first got elected.
I registered in the Green Party. It would have been sometime in the fall of 2001, after 9/11, but before the bombs started to fall in Afghanistan. I knew as an individual in some small community there was nothing I could do to prevent the war, but I wanted to do, because I knew there was obviously going to be a war coming on very quickly, but I wanted to take some sort of symbolic step as a vote for peace, and registering the Green Party was the most logical thing that I could do at that point.
Right.
I slowly began to get involved with that. I had voted for Ralph Nader in 2000, so I was very sympathetic to the Green Party for a long time. I began to get active in the Green Party. It would have been the fall of 2005, I believe. Mr. Nader came up to Glens Falls to do a speaking appearance, and the Greens who were active up there reached out to the community, saying, "Why don't you come out, volunteer, and try and help?" That's where I first began to meet them at a local coffee shop, Rock Hill Bakehouse in Glens Falls, in New York.
Oh.
I found a copy of Green Pages, our national publication. Got really interested in that, contacted the editor, who invited me to a state meeting, the New York Green Party. And it was at that point I slowly began to get involved within the internal party.
Okay. Do you have a pretty solid local party there?
No, we don't, but it's interesting, Starlene. In the lead up in 2003 to the lead up of the invasion, like so many other communities around the country, we had many, many people meeting and standing on corners,
Yeah, we did
demonstrating
in
for
Sacramento
peace.
too,
Yep.
yeah.
And there were a number of us who were interested in the Green Party. We met half a dozen times trying to figure out how we could start a local strong chapter. We never quite got to that point, but 3 of us ended up running for office and winning.
Really?
Which I thought was pretty amazing. Myself, another local mayor in the village of Victory right across the river, and also a village trustee in the village of Schuylerville right across the river. So there was this energy that came out of the lead up to the war that's still there. And I know there's sort of an informal network of Greens in Washington County and Saratoga County and Warren County, sort of the area north of Albany, and we do communicate with each other. We do talk on a regular basis, and we're having at least one local person running for office this year for a state assembly race, I believe it is. So there's activity going on. We get inspiration from the National Party and also from the success that we've had in races in Albany over the past few years. So it's not an actual organized chapter, but there's a network of people where we feed off on each other and help each other out.
How many times have you been reelected?
I was reelected to my second term this past March.
Okay, good. So what are some things you've been able to accomplish as mayor?
I hate to say things that I did, but there's a lot of things that have happened in the past 4.5 years.
You started, got going.
Or encouraged to get
Yeah,
going, or
encouraged to get
facilitated,
going.
if you will. We have a community youth center that's going. Just started this past year in the basement of Village Hall. The genesis of that is there was a songwriter named Kim Gannon who was very famous as a songwriter in the 40s and 50s. Most people today don't know Kim, but he was the author of I'll Be Home for Christmas, which is a very popular Christmas time song. Well, Kim and Norma, in their will, left a bequest of $750,000 to the village for the benefit of the children of the community. So one of the first things that I did do as mayor, I got together and started meeting with people who were interested in trying to make sure that money was well spent and spent in a way that Kim and Norma Gannon really wanted. So it really became clear quickly that we needed to have a non-for-profit started. So, and they wanted to do that, but they weren't quite sure how, so I had the village attorney step in, draft their initial bylaws and regulations, and that was enough to get them going. They now contract with the village for services, and then we pay them to do those services. They've done a lot of park improvements, and the thing that we're all most proud of is this community youth center. They manage that with village financial assistance and assistance from local residents as well. The one thing that we all learned looking into trying to get this going was that community youth centers have to have a paid staff director on hand for it to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So we interviewed a number of people, hired a really terrific person whose background is in electronic and performing arts. So that's the orientation for our youth center. We have, I think, 5 or 6 now state-of-the-art Macintosh computers, all fully loaded with the latest version of Adobe Premiere. The youth members are now writing, producing, editing their own digital videos. We have a sound system for bands to use, and we have, I keep saying we, the youth center has plans to launch a web-based radio station later this summer, and they're fully prepared to submit an application to the FCC for low-power community-based radio station as soon as that window opens.
Wow.
It's going to be it's really tremendous opportunity for the youth of
And it's for
the greater.
all youth and
Correct.
community
It
to
doesn't.
use it?
You
Cool.
do not have to be a resident of the Village of Greenwich. It's open to anyone.
Oh, okay.
There are so many opportunities in small communities for children who are really into sports, and that's really tremendously important. There's so few other opportunities
Yeah.
for the youth that.
For the arts and,
Exactly.
and electronic
Exactly.
technologies. Yeah.
Yep. And
Great.
one of the goals is to redo the second floor of Village Hall. It's an old auditorium.
Mhm.
This Village Hall was built in a building in 1840s. It was the original school for the area.
Mhm.
And the stage is still up there. So one of the long-term goals is to do some serious fundraising and grant seeking to rehab that space, and then that becomes a community performance space
Mhm.
for the community at large to use, but as well as for the youth center to use.
Nice.
You know, to put on their own productions, to have concerts up there. A lot of the old-timers in the village, in their 70s and 80s, can remember going upstairs every Saturday night for dances when it was the Oddfellows Hall.
Uh-huh.
So it would be really exciting to be able to bring that space back to life again
Sure.
and make it a true hub of the community again.
Sure. I've always wanted to like write a grant proposal to be able to open up a youth-run coffee house
Mhm.
that was intergenerational.
Yep.
You know, so like, you know, the folks, the bands that are rehearsing in your space
Mhm.
then could perform, you know, maybe like Friday night or Saturday night, and
exactly.
everybody come with the kids and the families and hang out. But let the youth run it, you know,
Mhm.
teenagers run it as a collective, so they get experience on how to run a business
Sure.
with adult supervision, of course.
And they
But-
grow up quicker because they get the responsibility and they learn
Right.
how to
Right.
important it is.
Yeah, and they want to be productive and do
Yep.
something, you know.
Well, I know one of the plans that the director has, once the radio station is up and running, is to have the youth members of the center begin doing one-on-one interviews with the elderly members of the community
Mhm.
to capture their stories.
Oh, yes.
You know, doing basically oral history projects.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, I know there's one story that I've heard, and it's relates to what life was like during World War II.
Mhm.
On the home front, and it's something I never would have imagined. This man, probably in his mid-80s right now, remembered growing up as a child during World War II, and his parents lived outside the village, and it's like maybe a 5-mile drive in to where they worked in one of the mills. Because of the war and gas rationing, they were no longer able to do that. So they literally had to relocate into the village so they could walk to work. And this is one of the types of sacrifices that our country made that was just typical and expected and part of daily life that's been forgotten about. And it's one of those sacrifices that hasn't been asked of us as we've waged 2 illegal wars, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. What other kinds of things? Are there environmental issues that you've worked on?
Yep, we just installed a 38K solar array at our water plant. It's cut our electricity usage in half at the plant.
Excellent.
We'd love to be able to put in a similar array at our sewage plant, but it's not really ideally located for that. But there is the adjoining property, and that owner is willing to listen to a specific proposal for the solar array to go on his property to balance so it could feed directly into the sewer plant. The town supervisor and the superintendent of schools, we've had a number of informal discussions, and we've agreed that it would be great to find a location where we could put up a large solar array to help power the entire community. I've had 2 community members actually approach me and said, "Look, David, we'd love to get a municipally owned power authority up and running." So that's a long-term goal, and it's certainly very viable. I mean, we have a municipally owned water system that's been village-owned probably since the 40s or 30s, I believe. Our water rates are a third to half of what they are for similar communities in our area that have privately owned companies. So it can be done very reasonably, because the goal is to provide service without turning a profit, basically just to pay for itself. That's the mandate we're under for having municipally owned services. So that's doing a municipally owned power company would be a tremendous benefit. We'd be able to get control of the rates, hopefully lower them, but certainly control the fact that they aren't going to be expanding exponentially down the road. It lessens one of the burdens that taxpayers have to pay. And also it's the kind of thing that can help attract new businesses into the community.
That would be great.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot more communities around the country are
Beginning to do that and explore that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, New York State has a program called the New York Power Authority that actually encourages that and helps manage it, but they no longer have space to take in new communities. So we have to look for different options for that.
We have a municipally owned company in Sacramento, and actually all the electricity that I use in my home all comes from solar power.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it kind of, you don't feel so bad about turning on a light.
Yep.
Not that you still don't conserve, but anything else you're particularly proud of that you've been working on as mayor?
I'm proud of one failure.
One failure? Okay.
Absolutely.
Tell us about it.
Our firehouse is located in the back half of Village Hall. It was built in the 1870s. And we desperately need a new building. Everybody in the community absolutely positively agrees with it. We went forward with a public referendum for it. It got shot down by a tremendous basis. But I'm proud of the fact that this board was the first one willing in 20 to 30 years to actually go forward and put a proposal to the public. But we're going forward with another one. We have not given up, because they need a space that's safe for them to operate in and that meets all the standards. A number of people really wanted us to continue to reuse the building we're in and just modernize that. So we then, after the referendum went down in flames, we hired a structural engineer to do a completely serious study of the building to really determine whether or not we could adapt it. It couldn't. It was condemned. The fire department had to evacuate, so now they're in temporary quarters. So it's a really tough situation for them. But as mayor, who basically took charge, if you will, by putting the first referendum out that went down, I feel it's an obligation to them and to the community that I have to go forward with one plan after another, no matter how many it takes to get them a new home.
Right.
So.
Right. Good.
I mean, it's definitely a struggle, for sure, but it's one that has to be fought, and we have to listen to the community input as far as price goes.
Right. Are there other greens on the village council? What do you call it?
No, it's
Board council?
the village board. No,
Board.
there's myself as green mayor. There's 3 Democrats and 1 Republican. At our level, party politics doesn't necessarily enter into it, but everybody knows who everyone is, for sure. The area is traditionally very, very heavily conservative Republican, but obviously things are changing. There is no, as I indicated earlier, no official organized green presence in Greenwich, but there is a lot of community involvement going on. We had a 2-day training session last year for transition towns, and there's been a lot of outgrowth and activity out of that. There's a time banking group up and running. There's been a number of volunteers in the community that have stepped forward and are working with the village to help us plan and develop a trail system on a 140-acre parcel that we own outside the village. And because of that activity and because of the fact we're talking about it on a regular basis, the village board meetings, and being reported to local press, a local businessman stepped forward and anonymously donated $5,000 to help towards the upkeep and the maintenance of the trail systems, because he can remember going down there as a child with his family and spending time there, and he wants to make sure that opportunity is available again for future generations. And that's what I love about living in a small town. People really want to help and contribute. They either have to be asked or they have to understand their situations where their willingness to volunteer will be gratefully accepted.
What's the population?
The village is 1,800.
Oh, that is small.
It's small. We are divided by the Battenkill, which is a world-renowned fly fishing river. Runs from the mountains of Vermont into the Hudson River a few miles away from us. And half of the village is located in the town of Greenwich, and the other half of the village is located in the town of Easton. And there's a number of communities in New York State where there's this type of division within local government.
You think you'll run again when your term is up?
Until there's a new firehouse, I intend to continue running.
That's your mission.
Absolutely. I owe it to those men and women within that department, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we can't really ask questions, have our audience ask questions. So,
well, thank you,
we'll wrap it
Starlene,
up.
for this opportunity to
Sure,
talk
thank
about what it's
you.
like to be in local government.
Yeah, and we encourage everyone out there to think about running for local office yourself. It's, it's not hard. It's probably kind of exciting. I've done it.
Yep. All it takes to serve in local office is common sense and a good heart. You don't have to be a professional at this. You don't have to be a lawyer or a doctor. Anyone can do it, as long as you have the right attitude. That's all that matters.
Right. Yeah, so, think about it. Take a chance.
Yep, absolutely.
We need more Greens elected, definitely.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you, Starlene.
you.
Absolutely.
See you later.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Ta-ta.